Hello everyone, it's hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at True Heel Heat. Yeah!
Hey everybody, Tony Schiavone of All Elite Wrestling, and this is True Heel Heat, and I said it right, you motherfuckers.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Hill Heat YouTube and Facebook for our Dark Side of the Ring Season 4, Episode 3, Breaking the Cycle, the Graham Dynasty review. We are here to discuss one of the saddest episodes of Dark Side of the Ring in a
Depressing at that.
very long time. We are here to discuss it in depth as we always do here. Of course, I am joined by the princess of all the True Heels, Miss Krssi Love. How you doing?
What's up, gang? Good afternoon. Happy Friday. I hope everyone is well. Yeah, this was really sad. Very dark. And it never just let up. It just kept going.
Kept taking us deeper and deeper into this multiverse of this family here, and it was just, man, I did not know everything about this one. And like my missus, when I initially like told her, okay, who is it about and stuff, and she's like, oh, I'm not as interested because I don't know about these people. And then by the end of it, she was just like, wow, that was a sad one. That was a really sad one. She was like, I learned a lot, but that's just crazy. And yeah, it definitely was.
SP, why you look like Vision?
Why did it look like Vision? What?
Yeah, you got to look at what's that in the middle of your forehead?
Oh,
your daughter. Oh, okay. I was like, you look like Vision. Like, what's happening? Put it back on. No, yeah, leave it there. No, I'm like, wait, is that someone pointing something at them? I'm like, wait, I'm sorry, dude. You look like
I literally would have went the whole episode. I didn't even think, and Tia didn't even say anything to tell me. Like, you should probably take that off before you go record. Nope, she just let me be up here.
Leave it on it. Your Vision. It's okay. That's fine.
No, I'm taking it off. But thank you for letting me know. Oh, but yes, we only got like 3 minutes in, so yes, we're here to discuss Dark Side of the Ring Season 4, Episode 3, the Graham Dynasty. We appreciate anyone who's joining us live here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. If you're watching on demand, please, we appreciate you as well. We got a lot of great feedback and a lot of views for Episode 1, Episode 2 review. Over 900 views for that one. I was wary about doing these Dark Side of the Ring reviews because we've went a whole year since since the last season, and a lot has changed on our channel, but this is something that me and Krssi love kind of started doing during the pandemic, and we like doing it, like talking about the show. So we appreciate all the feedback, all the love and support to the first review that we did for season 4, and we appreciate anyone who's watching this one. So remember, drop the thumbs up on this video, share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And we just hit 7,000 subscribers, so we're making our way to our next goal, 8,000 subscribers. So appreciate any love and support. And of course, like always, if you're with us live here in the chat, sound off in the live chat. Give us your thoughts on this episode of Dark Side of the Ring in the live chat. And of course, if you're watching on demand, you can let us know in the comments down below. We got Frantic World here with us saying, what's up, SP3, Krssi, and chat. I didn't know anything about the Graham family, but wow, this was a sad story.
Yeah, so super, super sad. Ugh. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I
don't know what again. Yeah, I don't. It's like the Von Erichs. It's like I don't know where to even begin, to be honest. Like,
this is one of those episodes where I say get the tissue, because we're gonna be reliving some stuff that is not for the weak of heart, and it's a sad one. And I definitely, you know, I know they did the service announcement or had the writing on the screen at the end, but if you have issues with like depression or ever feel you're in the state of anyone that we talk about on this show, there are people out there you could reach out to. A lot of your local places have you know, helplines that you could discuss, or you know, a friend, a family member. Talk it out. Always talk about it instead of you know, doing something drastic like we're about with the people involved with the Graham family.
Well said, SP. Well said.
Try my best here. Tough one to get into, but let's get into Dark Side of the Ring, episode 3, breaking the cycle, the Graham Dynasty. We got based off. We got Jim Cornette, who's like the first person that we see on this episode. He gives us a brief history of championship wrestling from Florida, and how a member of the Graham family was either on the card or behind the scenes during the glory years of the promotion. He continues that they drew thousands of fans and had Super Bowl like ratings in the state. And then we see the daughter of Eddie Graham. The grand of Eddie Graham, the daughter of Mike Graham, Nicole Gossick, who she talks about her upbringing and how different wrestlers would be sleeping on their couch. She was scared. Giant as a kid, talked about how nice Magnum TA was to her. So
and we
kind
just
from episode 2 to episode 3. I always like that when you could see that they were flowing with it. And we've seen basically Jim Cornette all over this season so far. He's been on the first 3 episodes of this season. I think we said it last week.
Yeah, he's the go-to guy. I'm sure he has all the knowledge. He's like you, SB. He's like the living person that we just go to for all the facts.
They just need to put him on the title card with Jim Cornette. Like, come on,
and let him tell the story.
He could be the narrator. Why not? Yeah. You're paying Jericho all that money. Why not? Or pay Dutch again. Dutch can be a great narrator.
Yeah, I thought Dutch was coming back.
Hey, they sleep. They don't want to pay Dutch all that money, I guess. Cornette notes everyone wanted to work in Florida because of the money, the weather, the girls, and the chance to learn from Eddie Graham. Eddie made you believe he was the toughest man in Florida, and we get some classic FCW footage at this point. We then see someone that we haven't seen often, which I wish they would have got him for a couple of other episodes, but I won't get into that. Kevin Sullivan. It was great to see him. And he looked pretty good for his age as well.
Yes.
and he calls Eddie a genius of the business. He mentions Eddie's father died young, and then we meet a family friend of the Graham family, Dottie Curtis, who is the wife of the late Don Curtis, and says that her husband met Eddie in 1952. Want to feel old?
Wow. Yeah.
1952. And became friends. Don was the promoter in Jacksonville and asks Eddie to join him. She notes that the business will never have another Eddie Graham. Eddie was born of Eddie Gossick, and his career changed when he took the Graham last name from Dr. Jerry Graham. And we get the story of the Graham brothers here. Look at this picture.
Who were not brothers.
They're not brothers, yes. And this started the whole conversation between me and my missus of all the brothers that we thought were brothers when we were kids. And immediately we both thought of Billy and Bart Gunn, the smoking gun.
Yes, facts. I thought they were, yeah, that's true. Yep.
And I told her, I was like, I thought Edge and Christian were really brothers for like
Me
a year and a half before
Yeah.
I discovered that the internet had all the answers.
Well, yeah, I told you my whole fiasco about Macho Man, so you know.
This is true. This is true.
I was lied to most of my younger life, you know, about wrestling. You know, it's okay.
They lied to you, man.
Yeah.
Cornette mentions that Dr. Jerry Graham was the originator of the Graham Dynasty. He carried himself like a star and had the gift of gab. We get more classic footage of him cutting a promo, and it just feels like these people were like taken from a different time when you see some of these promos, like even like the the late superstar Billy Graham, who just passed away. When you see a lot of his promos, it just feels like he was brought from a whole different time, a whole different era, and then popped into like the 60s, the 70s, and stuff like that. Brother teams were over in New York, and if someone looked like you, they would just claim to be brothers. so that is why they got Eddie Gossick, and they said, you look like Dr. Jerry Graham. And then when he came to New York, the Golden Graham brothers were born, and they were massive stars in New York, where they would sell out Madison Square Garden. Cornette thinks that they were making close to six figures in the 1950s.
Damn, you know how much that was like Muko money back then, yo.
That's like $1 billion today.
Yeah. That was like he was living.
You were living a life. Dr. Graham was, though, a little bit of a flawed human being, as he was an alcoholic and mentally ill. He caused a lot of trouble and liked to go into biker bars and get in the guy's face. And Cornette says that he used to get in people's face and yell, "My name is Balls. Do you got any?"
Like for you to even say that is like, how am I supposed to answer you?
We got a problem here? I guess so. It's the 1950s, man. Easy to get in a fight. Graham was in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, where his mother was in the hospital, and he told the doctors at the hospital she better come out alive, and she didn't. So she passed away in the hospital. So this is the first crazy story of this whole thing. Dr. Jerry Graham returns to the hospital with a 12-gauge shotgun, a 38 caliber revolver, and an 8-inch hunting knife. And he gets to the ICU. He fires a shot at a doctor, and then grabs the stretcher that his mother's, deceased body is on. And they try to stop him, and he throws his mother's corpse on his shoulder and yells, "I just want to take her home and bury her."
Okay, first of all, how did he not get arrested?
That escalated quickly.
Yeah. Like it just went from like, okay, and then it just went like up to like 100, and like within like 10 minutes of watching this, I'm like, what is happening right now? It's like, okay, and that's when it's like, oh yeah, he really suffered with like really like mental, and like I was like, okay, that makes sense, but all right, so like why did we not like, did he not get arrested? Like who goes in the hospital and can do that? No one said anything about the afterwards. They just said that part. They went to another story.
we should have went further onto this, right?
Right. Like we kept just going to another story. Then it was another story. Like it just there's no ending to these stories that they had.
You gotta love it. You gotta love how fast things pick up and stuff like that. That was it was quite the start to the
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
quite
yeah,
it was a
yeah.
quite start to this whole entire
Like
episode.
10 minutes in.
Yeah, 10 minutes in. That was the opening 10 minutes is that story. Dolores saying, "What's up, everyone? What's going on, Dolores? Great to see you." We got Hassan in the chat who says, "Hi there, guys. Happy early Father's Day. Thank you so much.
Early Father's Day, guys.
Appreciate that." And any fathers out there, happy Father's Day to you. We got Frantic World who says we need an episode about that story. Yes, we need an
Right.
episode within the episode about just this story.
Because he had a shotgun, a knife, and what else did he have?
A 12 gauge shotgun, a 38 revolver,
So he had
and
2
a
guns.
hunting knife.
Yeah, and a knife. How? Why? Because he wanted to get his mommy. Like what?
Yep.
The
He
coroner
wanted to
is
get
there
his
to
mom.
yeah,
He just wanted to bury her. What's the problem?
where?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So many questions.
Where are you going to bury her?
Right,
How
like
are you
where
going to
will
bury her?
Are you gonna put her in the car and like put her seatbelt on? Like, she can't sit up. Like, are you gonna talk to her on your way to like there's so many
Oh,
levels
Jesus
to this.
Christ. There's a lot. Now we're going too in depth here. Like this is you could have a whole episode on Dr. Jerry Graham and just that one story. They probably could have got at least 30 minutes out of that.
Very
But
true.
yeah. We got Dolores in the chat saying dude was wild, couldn't be us.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know
Yeah,
that.
if he was black,
You know that.
man.
You know that.
And he was a wrestler too. How they gonna stop him?
Right.
They ain't gonna stop him. There you go. Eddie didn't want to be partners with Jerry anymore. I don't know if we can blame him. And left New York with his
Like
family.
red flags.
Got a couple of red flags here. And settled in Tampa. He knew he could get over there and be the star. Cornette says over the next 25 years, he became the biggest star ever in Florida and was able to eventually buy the territory. We then hear from another one of our favorites from last season of Dark Side of the Ring. B. Brian Blair is next, and he says that he started in 1977 in Florida, and he talks about the Armory in Tampa, and how hot it was. Nicole mentions all the wrestlers in Tampa give everything they had on Tuesday night and became big stars. Eddie Graham was able to keep good relations with Vince Sr. and Vince Jr. of the WWF despite leaving there. And Cornette gives us a rundown of how the NWA worked and how Graham was the president of the NWA twice. Eddie was a violent person and did what he wanted, or you were out. He wanted his wrestlers to lay their shit in and make people believe. Blair talks about and says that he told the boys that if they lost a fight to a mark, they were fired, as they always had to protect the business. And they talk about what was essentially a torture chamber in the basement where they would weed people out who were trying to be wrestlers. And Blair notes he isn't proud of some of the things that he was asked to do, and notes that they were told to break people's bones, which is okay. This is escalating again. We went from
him shooting up the hospital.
One crazy story to another.
We went from shooting up the hospital. Now we gotta go in the basement and break people's bones to make sure that they can wrestle. Like, sir, like we have Kevin to live. Sullivan, like, how are we supposed to wrestle if we break my bone? Like,
so Kevin Sullivan kind of elaborates more, and he tells a story of some guy being booked for shows, and they aren't sure how he got there. He was in a match with Sullivan and said that he would make him look good, but then Eddie Graham told Sullivan, if he doesn't come back bleeding, you are through. And Sullivan's next words was, and I kept my job.
Yeah,
I kept my job. Sullivan says he had a family and it was his livelihood. He notes it was probably the worst thing he ever did. So, like, this is how the 70s in professional wrestling were. And we're getting like a crash course on how they made people
Yep.
believe by actually
Mm-hmm.
breaking bows. And we hear so much today. It's all about, protecting the other guys, protecting who
Yes.
you're in the
Yes.
ring with.
Yeah.
Someone like Bret Hart, who came up even in the 90s, he started on in the 80s, came up in the 90s. He always talks about his kind of badge of honor is that he never injured another wrestler. And then you hear stories like this. How much of a mind blown was this part of the whole story here?
I mean, keeping it kayfabe, I guess. Like, they really wanted to make sure, like, nothing, like, you didn't know that this was not real. Like, like, you wanted to make sure that one, made money, and two, you had to sell the product and make sure everyone believed what was happening. So we break a few bones here and there. Like, sure. Just what's one or two bones that's broken? Nothing. How am I
What's
supposed
making
to
a
learn?
man bleed?
Yeah.
You just made him bleed his own blood. Pretty simple. Pretty simple stuff.
Yeah.
So then Sullivan says that Eddie was a go-getter and expanded outside of the business. He wanted to write checks instead of just receiving checks. So he got involved in charitable organizations in every town and county in Florida. He helped raise the profile on amateur wrestling and was basically a rock star in the state. He had politicians in his pocket as it was a big deal for them to be on FCW TV. And the main problem for Eddie, though, was alcohol. And we get a story about him drinking while
Another
taking
one.
his boat out, and it freaked Mike out as he was worried his father was going to kill himself on the water. Keep that in mind as we develop this story. Eddie took his hike and was going to jump off a bridge on the boat. He didn't make it in time to see the boat, and if he had jumped, he probably would have died there. So there you have.
Well,
There you have.
that's story number
Just
three.
his
That's
thinking. Yeah.
yeah. It's just okay. Yeah, he had. Now we can understand why he didn't have partners. They didn't want to be his partner no more because he had a severe drinking issue. Nobody likes a crazy drunk.
But he was just like Jerry. Jerry had a drinking problem, but he was mentally ill. The mentally ill part is where we
One
get to the hospital
outshines the
story.
other a little by just a little bit. Just by like a couple of percentage. Just a
There you
teach.
go. Oh, we got Frantic World that says Eddie Graham was like F them kids.
He did
Yep,
say that. Yep.
basically. He was like Okada, just another level. We get Eddie. We get a story of how Eddie was a lovable father, but was demanding and put high expectations on Mike. And here's a picture of Eddie and Mike here. We get sound from Mike from an interview he did in 2010, and he talks about the pressure and the scrutiny of being Mike Graham. Cornette notes Mike was shorter and didn't have the personality of his father. He was only 5'10", but he had the knowledge and he was a good worker and was in a lot of tag teams. He never wanted to be the big star of the promotion, and Sullivan notes he blended in well with the boys better than most who were the promoter's son. And we get more classic FCW footage. What do you think about Mike Graham kind of being the guy that was one of the boys? Like, you get so much story about the Shane McMahons of the world who have to who tried really hard to prove himself in the late 90s into the 2000s to become one of the boys, and he eventually did. But with Mike Graham, he was kind of more of a traditional wrestler and worker. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he is definitely one of those things where you have to like come like, oh, what are you gonna do? Can you live up to your father's expectations? You always have to like hear that in the background, like, oh, you're nothing like your dad, or like, and that's like, nobody wants to hear that because that's what kids idolize their parents. They want to be like their dads or things like that. So it's like, yes, he had like more of the old school classic wrestling, and then as he got up, he didn't really like transition well into the other stuff because he was more so into the old school aspect of things. So I felt like it's like kind of hard to like live in a shadow and like not give the expectations that people are trying to perceive from you. Always trying to give it all your all, but no one ever really like says, you know what, you did a great job, but you a little bit better than your dad.
Yeah, and you're not gonna get that from your dad, who's probably gonna give you the tough love
Oh
part
yeah,
of that.
definitely. I'm sure Dad was like, "The fuck are you doing?" like,
Like that match wasn't that good.
right?
Sullivan says that he had the
Terrible.
honor he had the honor of being one of Mike's partners and his opponent, and he was never going to back down and couldn't go home after getting his ass kicked. Nicole talks about how her dad would coming in bloody and sweaty all the time and smelling like alcohol, and it was a normal life for them. She talked about how he, the night after a show, we would go say bye to him, and he had his head all bandages up with blood sipping through, and his body would be kind of the aroma of
Yep,
alcohol coming off of
Greeks.
it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. FCW became a breeding ground, though, for generational stars. And we see old school footage of Hulk Hogan, Ric
Mm-hmm.
Flair, and most of all, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes. You gotta say it with the tongue
His
and the
tongue.
lip. You gotta say it with that. But see, baby, you're gonna get some plunder tonight. We got Sullivan, who notes that Dusty was like a surrogate son for Eddie Graham and was loved by the family overall. Eddie took Dusty under his wing, and when Dusty turned face, it set the territory on fire. Eddie retires in his 50s, and things outside of the ring started to turn. Blair notes that he was torn between two women and had shady business partners calling. Add to that the alcohol and medication that they were getting to be too much for him, and he would get a cheap bottle of wine at a late night story when coming home. And one night the place wasn't open, and he was so desperate he found a bunch of used bottles in a nearby field and drank whatever he could get out of them. So that's a little bit too much of an alcohol
like,
problem.
right. Like for you to not have, like you didn't have none in your house. I'm sure you did. Like you had to, like, but you just needed it at that time in that moment. So you went into the field like, I got ill. Like you don't even
taking sips out the
right. Like just trying to find like, ew.
That's disgusting.
It's
disgusting.
I was watching. I was like, wait, he did what? And then they showed the person like, reenactment, and it was like he went into the field and we're in this dark one looking for empty bottles. Like, what do you think is inside? Like, ain't that much stuff if you threw the bottles over there?
Like, what are you thinking, bro?
Yeah.
This is a little too desperate here.
Yeah.
So Graham is struggling with finding meaning outside of a wrestling ring. Eddie and his wife went to a restaurant and nobody recognized him, and he didn't know how to deal with that. Nicole notes that he was never really the same after that encounter, and one of the last checks he ever wrote was to a liquor store for $8, and he wrote "peace of mind," which would become a significant part of this story here. And then the story gets even sadder when you talk about when Nicole talks about how Eddie turned 55 and Nicole was skating around him and asked what he got for his birthday, and he told her 55.
I'm like, what?
And she asked 55 what? And he said back 55 years old. That's what he got. And looking back, she realized what that meant and how he knew it was over.
Yeah.
Mike Graham, we get another footage of his interview from 2010 where he mentions he was at the Super Bowl between Miami and San Francisco and received a page to report to the box office. He was told to call home, and they said it was his dad. Eddie has shot himself twice. And Dottie notes that she will spare us the gory details about the bedroom. Back to Mike, as he says his dad was in the hospital and on life support. So he shot himself, but he didn't finish himself off. They tried to save him. Mike made it home, and he knew it wasn't an accident, and his dad wouldn't want to be like that. So he told his mom it was time to pull the plug, and he died 5 minutes later. It sent shockwaves throughout Florida, specifically, and all over the country. Every talking head gets emotional and wonder why he did what he did. Sullivan says people knew he was depressed, but nobody thought it would get that far. And Eddie did a good job of hiding what was going on with him mentally. And we get Dottie who says about how, someone has that smile on their face, but you never know what's going on
Yeah.
beneath that. So what
Check
do you
on your
think
strong
about
friends. Check on your strong friends. You have to check on your strong friends. It's a real thing, and it's really, really sad that people you don't know, like, could be smiling, but they can be really, really sad and depressed and don't know what they're going through. Like, so it's something where you just have to be mindful and just try to just check on everyone, even if it's just a text. You don't have to call them. Like, just say, hey, just was thinking of you. Little things. I mean, they didn't have those back then, but they knew that he dealt with it really bad, and I guess he didn't really have any outlets, so didn't want it to be looked at, or want people to maybe baby him. Was no, those things, you could have probably got some type of help for you or talk to someone.
And it's crazy with what we would talk about with the rest of this whole story and the family is that they always seem to sow seeds and kind of let people know without knowing what's going on or what's in their mind, what they're thinking about doing. Like Nicole said, the whole what did you get for your birthday, 55 years, and that type of stuff. And it was already kind of the wheels were turning there. So like you said, definitely check on your friends and listen to what your friends are telling you, because sometimes they're telling you without telling you.
Correct.
Cornette says that within a year, Florida was on its last legs, and that also coupled with Vince Jr. going national, or as Blair calls it, Vince robbing the territories.
This is the same narrative. Everyone says the same thing, that he stole the wrestlers, he stole all the wrestling venues and promotions and networks and everything like that. People say the same, Vince. I guess that's why their brand is so big. There's no lie. I mean,
they ain't got a lie to kick it. They do talk about how someone was going to do it, and Vince just had the vision to do it first. Sullivan notes that the territory started struggling a year before Eddie Graham had died, and we see it wasn't Vince who started the slow downfall for it. It was actually the prodigal son, the adopted son, Dusty Rhodes. You see, Dusty left Florida and took half the territory with him as he got the job with Jim Crockett Promotions, where they were going to push him as their top baby face, and he took half the promotion with him. Mike notes in that interview in 2010 that Matt made his father mad, and it was like he was trying to kill the territory. Mike picked up the territory after his father's death, but it wasn't the same place. They even ran an angle with the Freebirds dumping on Eddie Graham's legacy, and Blair says that Eddie would have wanted Mike to use his death to get heat for an angle, but Cornette thinks that it went too far. No matter what Mike did, things weren't working, and 2 years later, FCW closed their doors. Cornette notes that Eddie would have been the only one to save it, as he was the one guy that had the best relationships with the McMahons was Eddie. So it was all over but the crying, basically, when Eddie went down, and it had already started. What do you think about Dusty being kind of viewed in this villainous light?
Yeah,
being the reason why the whole promotion started to fall down.
Can he be the reason? Maybe there was other things that happened. I don't know, really. I guess when you're in that thing, you have to blame someone. But I don't know. I really don't think that he was the sole person for the whole takedown of that whole company, to be honest. Partially, maybe, but not the whole sole person. Yes, he took some of the people with him. Yes, granted. But I guess the promotion maybe was not doing very well. And these were big names, then. And they knew that they could be, somewhere else better and probably get more money. You had to go to different territories to make money. So I don't call him the sole reason why. I don't see him as a villain.
Yeah, you have to. It's more or less. I wouldn't say he's the sole reason or the
Yeah.
first reason. I think you can make an argument he was the first domino to drop. It's kind of like
Correct. Yes.
what was
Yes.
the thing that ended WCW? It was America AOL purchasing, Turner, and that was the
Right.
reason. But you can then go back 3-4 years earlier and say them not following through at Starrcade 97 on the build up to Sting versus Hulk Hogan was the first domino, and that whole result was what led to WCW falling down. Or you could say 98 when Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon's rivalry set on fire for the WWF. That was the first domino. Or you could say the finger poke of doom was the first domino. Like, it's very debatable what the first domino was, but from this story it sounds like Dusty was that.
Right. And I feel like all of them all kind of like fell into place once everything else started. It was a domino effect. Once that happened, then everyone was like, okay, yeah, gotta check the deuces, or like things just didn't work out in their favor.
Yeah. We got here Frantic World who says Vince is the Thanos of Dark Side of the Ring.
I love that. That's great, Frantic. That is actually really funny, and that's good. That's actually a great analysis. Great job, friend. Collected the clones. I mean, the stones, yes.
Stones. And
then he just makes his vanish. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We see footage of Eddie Graham working in WCW, where he had a job in and outside of the ring to mentor young guys. He's teaming with Diamond Dallas Page in the match that we first see him with. Nicole says that her dad got bitter as the business changed, with people who didn't know about the business writing for the boys or coming up with ideas. Mike had the thought that you can sleep when you die. He got his first tattoo when he was 40 years old, and it was a skull with flames and the words "peace of mind." Once again, that little saying that his dad put on that check to the liquor store for $8. Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, like that. Who knew that was going to be like come back and like be a factor, and he gets that tattooed on him. Crazy.
His drinking got worse after his dad died, and he actually had a license for Mike Graham and Mike Gossett, so that when he got a DUI and they suspended one, he had the other.
Yes, right. Like
you got some issues when you're
right.
I know. Tammy Lynn Cinch is like, damn, I wish I thought of that. I would have got one.
You know what?
Sonny Cinch.
My God. Yo, you did.
Sonny Cinch. He started to get tough.
Oh God, yo, wow. Okay, sorry.
Mike started to get tough on his son Steven, as he wanted him to be tough. He was a stronger built guy, and everyone expected him to be a tough, mean guy because of his family, and that hurt him on the inside. We see family photos of Nicole with her brother, and this is when I knew. I was like, oh boy.
This is when
we started talking about this is the first we really talking about the brother, and I was like, oh boy, where are we going here?
This is when I was like, it's turning left really quickly. You know what I'm saying? It's going left, and I'm like, what's happening?
So Nicole talks about she sent her brother a text one morning and he didn't respond, but she figured he was just working. Mike became worried and asked if she had heard from him, and she went to check on him and she found that he had taken his life. She called her father and told him not to come. They met up later, and Mike told her that if he had found Steven, then they would be burying both of them because he would have taken his life right there. Shit. I was just like, man. And then that's when they did that scene, when he said that, I was like, oh, I see where this is going, because they keep showing Mike Graham from 2010. So I was like, that means Mike Graham is not here anymore.
Right, because we never seen.
Yeah, because we kept
kept
hearing his voice, but that was from 2010. They kept establishing that's from a 2010 interview. So I was like, damn, I can see where this one is going now. Brie Byron Blair says he isn't sure what demons got to Steven. The entire family was crushed and just didn't have to be that way. Nicole notes that her and Steven saw what suicide did to the family, but at the same time, her grandfather doing it made it an option for him. And well, he did it, she says. Everyone was worried about her, but she was more concerned with her dad. And that was another one where I was like, oh,
Yep, that's when she said
because
that, it
that's
was
when they
over.
left us off before they went to commercial. And I was like, oh, I see where this is going. What do you think about Stephen Graham or Stephen Gottsy taking his life following, like Nicole said, it was kind of became an option for him, despite how hurt he was that his grandfather took his life. He still took his life when he got a little bit older.
They reference a lot in this thing, like, how selfish and how upset they were when, the grandfather did it, and how mad it was. And then when her brother did it, she was upset again. And it was like, why do you do this? Like, how do you leave us back here? And now we got to pick up all the pieces. Like, it's not fair to us. Like, they were very angry. And I was like, it's like a domino. It's like, it's the dominoes just falling slowly. You know how like they have like the long path. And I felt like all the dominoes just kept falling slowly. And I'm like, oh. And like you said, after that commercial, I was like, oh, that means he's not here either. And then she said that statement. I was like, oh. So I'm like, yeah, they had and this poor daughter, my God. Oh my God. Like,
dude, like you lost like because she talked about her relationship and how close she was with the grandfather, with Eddie Graham, and then talked about how her brother Steven was her best friend, and how her and her dad's relationship, where she was more of, she would call him out on his stuff, but they always had that close father-daughter bond. But it was just like every single story, I was just like, man. And I was giving her credit throughout the whole thing, because she didn't really like break down, and I would have broke down, but you could tell she's like farther along in her healing process than you would have thought. We got Romeo here in the chat saying, I had no idea Mike took his own life. I remember seeing him on the Legends of Wrestling roundtables. Yeah. I remember Mike Graham more than anyone, and that's what, like, when they kept replaying the 2010 interview, and especially after they said his son took his own life, I was just like, damn, like,
it's like,
where is this? Is this like
going?
The theme of this episode? Is that this
is.
family has multiple suicides involved? Like, it's crazy. So you talk about how his son's death happened in 2010, and Kevin Sullivan notes that Mike was living with, I must have been a shitty father and a shitty son. Damn.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's so, like, and that's not what it was, man. Like, you can't blame you can't blame your own self for someone else's actions. Like, it's hard not to, but like, your actions, didn't affect them. They probably had something that you didn't even know anything about. And, as you see what happened to, to Mike, what,
nothing you can do. Like, yeah, that's their choice, and you can't put it all on yourself. Kevin notes that they were friends but never mushy with each other, but Mike told Kevin he loved him, and that's when he knew that something was wrong. Nicole starts to break down finally after talking about all of this, and she talks about how her daughter, she told her dad to look at her, and she says that this all ends here. Look at her. She doesn't deserve this. What your dad did was horrible. What Steven did, we're never going to recover from it. But this ends now. Look at her. She doesn't deserve this. Like, just pleading with her father. And Mike agreed. And then less than 2 years later, she says he did the same thing. So
that hit me. I was like, okay, I don't even need to watch no more of this. Like, it's over. Like, what are we doing here? What are y'all trying to do to us right now? Like, it's over.
Trying to get us right in the heartstrings with this one. Kevin Sullivan says Mike and his wife were in Daytona Beach for a bike week, and she went outside to see some friends, and when she came back and opened the door, she heard a gunshot. Mike was dead, wearing Steven's cowboy boots. Like, dude,
like, bruh, like,
I was just like, I just felt sick. I was just like, yo, like, this was calculated. How you bring your son's boots? Like you had this thought process, like you're gonna wait till your wife goes out with her friends and do this. Like I feel so bad for this family. Like
I
it
same.
just
This is
seems like depression
depression.
is it's hereditary. It's a real
This one,
thing.
this tops the Von Erichs one. I'm sorry. This one takes
I
this
that's fair.
one, because the Von Erichs, say what you want or whatever. Yes, this dynasty right here, the Grahams, I think they overshadowed like what was going on inside their family way deeper, and it was yeah.
Yeah. So Sullivan says, and I quote, he couldn't break the cycle. So that's how the title of this episode, Breaking the Cycle, came to be.
Mm,
Nicole says that she was still trying to pick up the pieces from her brother, and this was a different level of pain. Cornette says that it was a shock, as you have to think the same thing can't happen to 2 generations. And in
mhm.
this case, it happens to 3 generations. And then we go even further. This was the mind blown. This is
Yeah.
when my mind was just like, yo, it's not just 3 generations, because they told the story of these 3 generations, and you're
Mhm.
thinking like, okay, maybe it's Eddie kind of started the trend. Eddie is the, like, we're going back to the domino analogy,
Right.
Eddie is
Right.
the first domino.
Mhm.
No, it
No.
goes further than that, as it seems that Eddie's father killed himself and Eddie's brother killed himself. So this
It was like
affected
the whole family.
four
Yeah.
generations, 4 generations in 5 different people, 4 generations. That's, yo, that is, I was like, my jaw was on the floor at this point. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. It is a whole family that just carry, when they say you like inherit traits from your family members, or like it's a generational thing. This is like that generational curse that they have for this whole family, I feel like. And it's sad.
Insane. I was just like, what? We got Frantic World. It says Mike had his son's boots. Got me. I was like, wow, come on. Yeah. Yeah. I feel you on that one. Savette says, I still got the WrestleMania 24 DVD with the
Nice.
2008 Hall of Fame with the induction of Eddie Graham. Yeah, I think I gave that DVD to my nephew, so my nephew has that one.
Wow.
We got Savette also saying mind blowing. Yes, like the 4 generations and 5 different people in the family. That was just like, yo, that's real life. Depression and addiction is hereditary. Like, it's a real thing, and this was
Yeah.
proof
Yeah.
positive of that. And Blair notes that one suicide is too many, and
Yeah.
here are 5 over 4 generations. They discuss how it can be seen as an option for those in the family of someone who committed suicide, and Sullivan notes that it is a heavy burden for Nicole and her daughter to carry. And God bless her. She, like, sheesh.
Yeah.
We need something positive after all that. So they talk more to Nicole, and she takes
Fun,
us to
Nicole.
the old armory, where we see a display celebrating the wrestling history of the building that was
Yeah.
put together by Boris Malenko's son. It is a cool memorial, and Nicole breaks down reading that this will always be the house championship wrestling from Florida built. She tries to focus on all the good times and remember her grandfather with a lot of love. Her brother was her best friend, and she wishes he knew how everyone loved him. And she says, and I quote, Dad, we had that tough relationship because I called him out on things, but there was so much love and respect. I miss my dad so much, and I wish he was here to see my daughter grow up because he is missing out on so much. Blair and Sullivan wishes that they had more days with their friends. Dottie says that it is best not to dwell on the bad, and says
Yeah.
that she loves Nicole. She is the legacy of the family now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Nicole took time and found the Crisis Center. She talks about founding the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay to help get a word out for people who need help, or for
Mhm.
those who need to get out of out of bed because they lost family members. Blair says that this has to be a lesson for everyone who watches this program. Someone loves you always. Remember those words. Someone loves you always. Nicole says for someone to speak up and find that peace of mind. She says it occurs to her that she has it and got a simple tattoo on her body now that said peace of mind. She says that she is so happy right now, and you could see the smile beaming on her face, and she was so strong throughout all of this. So like we said at the beginning, like if you are someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is help available. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline provides 24 hours a day, free and confidential support for people in distress, prevention, and crisis resources for you or your loved ones. Call 988 or via online chat at 988lifeline.org. Remember those. If you're gonna get one piece from there, like please, if you're feeling like that ever, there is help out there for you.
Yes.
But man, that was a heavy episode.
Oof. Wow. Speechless, like sad. And it's the dominoes from the top of the domino of the family that led onto the other dominoes falling down. And it's really, really sad. But yes, she is the strong suit of the family, and happier there's a brighter side to this ending, to this story, that she's made this foundation and, made a way for a outlet for people to get help that really needs these things, because it's really, really a thing that's out there that they're taking people. And we just, like I said, we need to just check on all of our strong friends and family.
Yeah. I couldn't say it better myself, but yeah, this was a tough episode to watch, and like I said, so many different times my mind was blown out of what we were watching and what went down with this family in this dynasty here. But yes, I got a couple of comments to highlight here. We got Dolores in the chat who says, this story makes me very sad, but I'm glad to see and hear y'all on my birthday. Great job, Krssi and SP3. Happy birthday, Dolores. Happy birthday. One of our favorites in the chat. Yes.
Always here and always supporting. Love you. I wish you many more. And yeah, you're a Gemini.
More. You had to think about it. I saw the thought process.
So you're a Gemini. I don't know how I feel about that, Dolores, but I love you though.
What we doing? What you going? You saying?
Geminis. They're hot and cold. They're 1 minute they're there, and then 1 minute you can't find them. They disappear. Do you disappear sometimes, Dolores? If you do, see that I'm right.
We got love in the chat for Dolores. Romeo saying happy birthday. Savette saying happy birthday. Romeo says it's sad because even if you check in on someone's mental health and they tell you they're good and they won't do anything, it can all change at any given time. Yes.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And then you don't want to be a pest, checking on people. But, like you said, it's like they can just fake it to they'll fake. And you're just like, okay, but just make sure you're okay. Call me. You no matter how many times you tell people to call you, my line is open all the time. Just call me anytime. Sometimes they don't want to be a burden. They feel like they're being a burden,
Yeah, and it's never true. It's never that. We got Frantic World that said 5 men in the Graham family took their life. Wow. Yes, that is 5 too many. 5 too many in general. And Romeo as things will lighten up because next week is Doink the Clown. You think that, but I heard that's a crazy story within itself as well.
Okay.
We got Savette. He says, I got 2 words to say. This is holy shit. Yes.
Yeah, Savette, that is true. Yeah.
And Frantic Girl says the next episode about Matt Bourne might be a crazy one. Yes, the story, and I think it's called What Happened to Doink the Clown. That's the name of next week's episode. You shall see. We shall see. But Let's put our thumbs in the middle, Miss Krssi Love, for this episode of Dark Side of the Ring. 3, 2, 1. I thought it was a thumbs up episode because I learned a lot, not because of what happened, but because I learned a lot and I got to learn about the family. It was
I didn't know
very
about
informative and taught me about like that depression can be really hereditary in the family, and I didn't think we would get an episode as sad or even sadder than the Von Erichs, but they did that here.
They did that here, yes. Definitely informative because I didn't know anything about them, so I'm like, okay, I didn't know what to expect from this, story, but wow. I felt like when like you said, this is like it reminds me of the Von Erichs. Those two. We've had some sad stories on Dark Side, but I think those two are like the top, like for like family dynasties and like family issues and intertwined things going on with wrestling. Those the top ones from Dark Side of the Ring so far.
Bunch of thumbs up in the chat. Krssi Love, who was your MVP for this episode here?
Oh, the daughter, for sure.
Nicole Gossick. I agree with you. 100%. Nicole was the MVP of this episode. LVP for this episode, I think I'm going to have to go with Dr. Even though, mental health is a real thing and maybe you're mentally ill, but I'm sorry, that opening 10 minutes, it's got to be Dr. Jerry Graham.
Okay, Jerry Graham. That's fine.
Jerry Graham, because you can say maybe Eddie Graham for having people.
I didn't want to say
bones.
because but I said I didn't want to really like name them because they all had issues and something was wrong. So I was gonna give it to Dusty, but we'll give it to the doctor.
You giving it to Dusty? I was gonna say Vince is an option too.
Vince is an option too. Like we gotta like.
I think the fairest thing to do is to give it to Vince because everybody has their issues. We don't know what really was the real problems there, and
right.
Even though I want to give it to Dr. Jerry Graham, they did establish he was mentally ill, so I'm going to give it to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, he did way more damage than he even knows about that he did to the territories by shutting everything down.
Okay, that's fair.
I agree. Grizzly Smith, who's the father of Jake the Snake Roberts, that was
that one was sad too. Okay,
but that was more sad because of what he did to his family more than what happened to the family.
Correct, exactly. Two different types of like
sad. Yeah,
right.
Two different types of sad. Like sad, I feel sad for the people that were victims of him.
Yeah,
but not as far as sad as I'm sad for the family of what this documentary is about. Correct. I had no sadness for Grizzly Smith.
That part.
Just me. Maybe just me. I don't know. I had no sadness for him. So that's why I say different levels to that. But yes, that is the MVP, LVP. I don't know. I don't know if we did out of 10 for the first 2 episodes. I just remember I gave thumbs in the middle for
we just did thumbs up and did
episode 2
MVP or LVPs. That's what we did. So
okay, so we'll
said that we would do we said we would do a ranking for all of them after the season is over.
Yes, so we'll stick to that, and we won't do out of 10 for this episode. But that brings us to an end of another Dark Side of the Ring season 4 review. Like Romeo said in the chat, we got next week Matt Bourne, the story of Doink the Clown. That's going to be a very interesting and potentially crazy one for us to discuss. I don't know if we'll be doing it live or pre-recorded.
Right, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because next Friday we do have our AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door preview. It will be myself. I don't know if Romeo's going to be joining me for that one, but I do know we're going to have Joel Holbert of Wrestle Purist back on the show to preview that. We got everything going on for Forbidden Door next week, so maybe we might combo up again. We might do 4 and 5 the following Friday. I think
I had liked the combo one, to be honest. Feel like it I mean, it was a little longer, but I like the whole combo thing. So I think we could do 4 and 5 the following. My son's graduating next Friday, so I was going to tell you that.
See,
there
you go. There you go.
So we
got extra reason. Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
what we'll do. We're gonna take a week off next week, and we'll come back for episodes 4 and 5 in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. Next week, you will have content here on the channel as we will be doing our preview for Forbidden Door. Saturday, of course, is usually True Hill Heat flagship podcast where you can see Miss Krssi Love. We're changing things up. There's a lot of things changing. On Sunday this week, we are actually going to be debuting a new show at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be myself and sober guy JJ with AEW Collision Course reviewing the premiere episode of AEW Collision. Yes, that is. Yes, that is. Shouts out to JJ Williams for that great picture. Shouts out to Romeo for designing this poster here. We'll probably have a different thumbnail for the first review, but me and sober guy 11:05 a.m. on Sunday for the AEW Collision review. And then later in the evening, around 6-7 p.m., we'll have the latest episode of Serving Facing Heels, number 27. Miss Krssi Love, Stephanie Hypes. Miss Krssi Love, please let the people know where they can follow you on social media, where they can see you here, and on other channels, because you and Stephanie Hypes been doing big things this week.
Yes, so Stephanie and I, we were on In the Weeds with you and Joe on Frightful Overbook. We were there on Wednesday. We had so much fun. It's like we are tag partners for the women's division. So you guys call us and we come in and you tag us in, which was really fun. I had a great time. So check that episode out. Please like it and share it. Other than that, you can find me tomorrow morning at 11:05 a.m. for our flagship show, which is True Hill Heat. Can't wait to talk about this week's wrestling. Lot to unpack. Dynamite. Oh my God. So we have lots and lots to talk about. Other than that, you can follow me on IG, Twitter, and on Facebook. IG is Krssi Love _1. Twitter is True Hill Krssi Love, or just my plain old name. So see you guys there. Can't wait to see you. Serving Facing Heels is pre-recorded because it's Father's Day. So that episode will drop that night. Again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers, uncles, anyone that's a father figure, to anyone that they look up to you. We salute you guys. Keep doing a good job because you guys matter and we need you all.
And you guys were great on Serving Facing Heels. They're gonna actually put out a separate video for just y'all segment from that In the Weeds episode on Fightful Overbook. That's gonna probably be dropping over the weekend as well. So you can check that out. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at True Hill SP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at True Hill Heat. And yes, Romeo, yes, I forgot that J News will be joining us for our AEW New Japan Forbidden Door preview. We might even have another special guest. So Romeo, you got the week off. You can take the week off for the Forbidden Door preview because I'm gonna need you the following week because that week is Money in the Bank, and I'll need you for that preview. So you can take the Forbidden Door preview off. It'll be me, J News, Joel Holberg, and maybe possibly another special guest. I'll keep y'all updated on that. And Frantic World saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not sad about Grizzlies." It was like he had to be reminded, like, oh yeah,
it'd be like that sometimes, friend. It'd be like that. It's all right. It's all right.
Of course, support us. You can support us in a great way at patreon.com/True Hill Heat. More additional content. My Raw report is up there. We'll have the True Hill Prediction Championship back next week. We're finishing up on season 4, I believe. I think me and Romeo need to discuss, but I think we're going to finish up season 4 for Money in the Bank weekend. So that'll be the end of season 4, and we'll see how everything shapes out there. If I get championship number 3, we'll see. We'll see. But yes, check that out as well. $3 a month gets you additional content, the True Hill Heat Prediction Championship, and much, much more. And like we said, we got plenty of content on the channel. Yesterday, you had AE Ramble with myself and Jimmy Rackaram talking about the aforementioned. Yeah.
Great episode.
Oh, thank you. Jimmy.
I caught the end of it when I was at work, but great episode, guys.
Jimmy is too much sometimes. He was
taken away by Willow. He was distracted. That's why.
I want to do some disgusting things to her.
Yep, that's what
Check out for a Rambo.
My God, Will Ospreay is a specimen of I'm sorry. I'll give y'all the spiel tomorrow. Will Ospreay. Oh my! When I saw that, man. Okay, never mind. Have a great Friday, guys. Enjoy. Happy birthday, Dolores, again.
We just need Jimmy and Krssi on a video together where they
Please.
talk about
Please.
Willow
Let's
and
do
Will
it.
Ospreay, the two Wills.
The two wheels. Let's do it. Oh my God. That is amazing. Okay. I can't wait.
Me and Krssi will see you tomorrow. True Hill Heat Flash It Podcast. True Hill Heat 2:30, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. It'll be myself, Miss Krssi Love, and two special guests. We'll have Steven Jensen on with us to discuss AEW Dynamite and, of course, the CM Punk ESPN interview and why CM Punk still hates Hangman Adam Page. We're going to be talking about that with Steven Jensen, and we're going to have Kevin Kellum of Sportskeeda Wrestling on with us to talk about this week in WWE, SmackDown, Raw, NXT, and all the news. So join us live, True Hill Heat Flash It Podcast. But for Miss Krssi Love, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our Dark Side of the Ring, Season 4, Episode 3. Breaking the Cycle, the Graham Dynasty review. We are signing off until next time.
Laters.